The cockpit on SVR when we bought it was in pretty rough shape. It was all teak, the lazarette locker was falling apart, and we had a leak coming in through the combings that we couldn't really pinpoint. So we decided to tear everything apart and see what we could find. We found a lot of rotten wood, a lot of wet wood, and decided to kind of just rehab the whole thing. We built new scuppers, and they drain a lot better, and Rich actually had to rebuild the cockpit combings out of fiberglass. We removed all the teak, had to scrape off all the glue, and fill all the holes with epoxy. Removing the wood under the radar tower left a gap that we had to fill with thickened epoxy so it would sit level. Rich rebuilt the lids for the cockpit lockers, the lazarette, and the propane, and covered them with fiberglass. He also removed the engine gauges and the power supply, and there was also a telephone and cable connection. Then we spent a few hours sanding everything smooth.
Alright, so here's the results of our hours and hours of sanding today. Everything looks pretty smooth. There's still a couple of spots here and there. We gave everything a hose down so we could see a little bit better how it's looking. It's kind of faring in pretty good. There's some spots back here where it blends in with the old. Things are looking pretty close. It's almost ready for a coat of epoxy prime coat. I'm going to use an Interlux product that I've never used before. And that'll seal up all the epoxy and keep the amine blush from inhibiting a bond with the top side paints. I'm using Interlux. What is that stuff? Bright side is the top side paint, and then I'm using a different primer, also a 1 part. I'm using 1 part on both of them because I don't want to deal with the toxicity of all grip. But or a 2-part LPU. But the everything kind of looking pretty close. On the outside, on the scupper grains aren't even too bad. You can see, I need to fill in a little bit around there. This thing's ready for a teak cap. There's still a little filling and fairing down here, and I need to square this edge where the teak trim comes down. I need to install a piece of teak here so I can get that finished up. Down this side, it's getting pretty close. My main concern is getting everything inside of the cockpit well. The top of the coatings down so that we can get the non-skid rolled on. I'm going to put Kiwi on here and see how that goes. Got the this is where the engine gauges go, and then this is where the old shore power and the had its cable TV and telephone. And then over here was the knot meter and log gauge. And I'm going to move those up onto the top of the coach house. Looks like the locker lids are pretty close. The lids are ready for paint, and the channels are pretty close. They could use a little bit more fairing department here. Other than that, that's about what we got done this week.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.